She faked a pregnancy just to win her husband's love back. But instead of affection, she uncovered a secret so painful it broke her soul. A lie meant to save her marriage led her straight into the darkness her husband had been hiding all along. The sun rose gently over the red clay roofs of Kisumo village, painting the huts gold and orange. The scent of burning wood drifted in the morning air, and women were already at the river, their laughter mixing with the rhythmic splash of water. But for Zuri, the day carried no warmth. She sat on the wooden stool outside her small home, staring into the distance, the same distance her husband, Kamau, seemed to stare into every night these days. Kamau had changed. Once, he was the kind of man who made her laugh till her belly hurt. He'd bring her roasted maize from the market and tease her about her big dreams of opening a tailoring shop. But lately, his laughter had faded. His voice was colder, shorter, as if everything Zuri said irritated him. He came home late, sometimes not at all, claiming work kept him. But deep down Zuri knew something was wrong. Her friends whispered that he might have found another woman in town. Others said he'd been seen at the bar, drinking with a new crowd. But Zuri refused to believe it. She was proud. She loved Kamau deeply, even when it hurt. Still, every night, as she lay in bed staring at the empty space beside her, that love turned into fear. Fear that her marriage was dying. One morning, as she pounded cassava in the courtyard, her neighbor Amina leaned over the fence and said softly, "Zuri, men are like children. When they start drifting, give them something new to hold on to. Something to make them proud again." Zuri frowned. "Like what?" Amina smiled knowingly. "A baby." The pestle froze midair. Zuri's heart jumped. "A baby?" Amina nodded. "Yes. Tell him you're pregnant. You'll see how he changes. He'll stay home more, talk sweet again. Men can't resist the thought of being fathers." Zuri laughed nervously. "But Amina, I can't lie about that." Amina waved her hand. "Lie? No, my sister. It's just a little trick to remind him of his heart. Once he starts caring again, the rest will follow." That night Zuri couldn't sleep. The idea spun in her head like a restless drumbeat. Maybe Amina was right. Maybe Kamau just needed a reason to love her again, to remember the family they dreamed of building together. By morning her decision was made. When Kamau returned home from town that evening, he found Zuri sitting by the fire, her hands on her belly, smiling softly. "You're home early," she said gently. "Just tired," he muttered, kicking off his dusty shoes. She hesitated, then whispered, "Kamau, I have news." He barely looked up. "What news?" She took a deep breath and smiled. "I'm pregnant." The room went still. The only sound was the crackling fire and the croaking frogs outside. Kamau's eyes widened slightly, then softened in surprise. "You're sure?" he asked. Zuri nodded, forcing a tear to her eye. "Yes, I went to the healer last week." He confirmed it. For the first time in months, Kamau smiled. A real warm smile that reached his eyes. He crossed the room and hugged her tight, something he hadn't done in so long that Zuri almost forgot how it felt. That's good news, Zuri," he murmured into her hair. "Really good news." Her heart leapt. To work. Over the next few days, Kamau started coming home earlier. He asked about her meals, offered her a stool when she cooked, even bought her oranges from the market. The neighbors noticed and began congratulating her. "Zuri, you'll make a fine mother," they said. She blushed and smiled, even as guilt pricked her heart. But each time she saw Kamau's happy face, that guilt faded. She told herself it was harmless, a small lie to save their love. Yet slowly strange things began to happen. One afternoon, Zuri was washing clothes at the river when a woman she didn't recognize came and knelt beside her. The stranger had sharp eyes and a bold red scarf tied around her head. "You're Zuri, Kamau's wife, yes?" she asked. Zuri nodded, cautious. The woman smiled thinly. "Congratulations on your pregnancy." "Thank you," Zuri replied, dipping her hands back into the water. The woman leaned closer. "You must be very strong." especially with Kamau's habits. Zuri froze. What do you mean? The woman shrugged, her eyes glinting. Nothing. Just that not every woman could handle what he hides. Before Zuri could speak, the woman stood, wiped her hands and walked away, leaving only the sound of rushing water behind her. That night, Zuri told Kamau about the encounter. Who is that woman with the red scarf? She asked. She knew you. Kamau's expression changed instantly. His jaw tightened. What woman? She said she knows you from town. He cut her off. People talk nonsense, Zuri. Don't listen to them. He turned away and went outside. Zuri watched him through the window as he sat under the old mango tree, head buried in his hands. Something was wrong. The lie that once brought him close now seemed to push him away again. Days turned into weeks, and Kamau's mood grew darker. He'd often wake before dawn, restless and distracted. Once, Zuri caught him staring at her stomach, or rather the place where a baby should have been, with a strange, unreadable expression. Then one night, when the moon was full and bright, Zuri awoke to find him gone. The door was wide open, and his slippers were missing. Her heart pounded. She followed the sound of footsteps down the path behind their home. It led to the edge of the forest. There, through the trees, she saw him, standing with someone. It was the woman with the red scarf. Zuri ducked behind a bush, trembling. She could hear their voices but not their words. Kamau seemed angry, gesturing wildly. The woman placed a hand on his chest and whispered something that made him go still. Then, shockingly, he hugged her. Zuri gasped. Her knees weakened. She turned and ran all the way home, tears blinding her eyes. By morning she was numb. Her fake pregnancy had done nothing but reveal the truth she feared the most. Kamau was seeing someone else. When he returned, smelling faintly of smoke and perfume, Zuri didn't confront him. She simply said, I'm not feeling well today. He nodded distractedly. Rest, then. That was all. No questions. No care. Zuri lay in bed that day, staring at the thatched ceiling, wondering what she'd done to deserve this emptiness. But by evening, her sadness turned into anger. She couldn't let him fool her again. If he wanted secrets, she'd find them. A few days later, she followed him once more, this time during daylight. Kamau said he was going to the market, but instead, he turned down a side road toward the old sugarcane fields. Zuri hid behind a tree and watched as he disappeared into an abandoned hut. Her heart raced. What could he be doing there? She crept closer. The door was slightly open. Inside she heard voices. We can't keep this up, Kamau said. We don't have a choice, the woman replied. If she finds out, it's over for both of us. Zuri's stomach twisted. Find out what? Then she heard something that made her blood run cold. The woman said, At least the child is safe. You did the right thing by hiding him. Zuri's hand flew to her mouth. Child. Kamau lowered his voice. She thinks she can't have children. She doesn't know the truth. It would destroy her. Zuri stumbled back, her heart thundering. The world seemed to tilt. Child. Hidden. She turned and ran before they could see her, the sound of her heartbeat echoing louder than her footsteps. That night she couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. His words replayed in her mind over and over. She doesn't know the truth. What truth? Zuri had been told she couldn't conceive years ago. The healer had said her womb was weak, that she might never bear a child. Kamau had comforted her, said it didn't matter, that their love was enough. But now she wasn't sure. Her fake pregnancy had become a cruel mirror, showing her lies she never imagined. The next morning, she packed a small bag and told Kamau she was visiting her aunt in the next village. He barely looked up from his breakfast. Be careful on the road, was all he said. But Zuri had another plan. Instead of going to her aunt's, she went to Mama Shola, an old herbalist known for her wisdom and her sharp tongue. Mama Shola, Zuri began softly, I need to know something. About my husband. The old woman looked up from grinding herbs. Ah, Kamau. I warned him once about secrets long ago. I see they've reached your doorstep now. Zuri's eyes widened. You warned him. About what? Mama Shola sighed and motioned for her to sit. Child, some truths are better faced than feared. What do you wish to know? Zuri hesitated. He hides something from me. Something about a child. The woman nodded slowly. Yes, the child who was born 2 seasons ago. Zuri froze. What did you say? Mama Shola looked straight into her eyes. Kamau has a son. The room spun. Her breath caught in her throat. No, that can't be. He would have told me. But deep down she already knew. The late nights. The red-scarfed woman. The guilt in his eyes whenever she mentioned babies. Mama Shola placed a wrinkled hand on her arm. He hides the boy with the woman in the fields. They come for herbs sometimes. I thought you knew. Zuri shook her head slowly, tears filling her eyes. I lied about being pregnant. And he lied about everything else. The wind outside began to howl. Dark clouds gathered over the hills as thunder rolled across the sky. Zuri rose slowly, her hands trembling. Mama Shola, where exactly does she live? The old woman hesitated. You don't need to go there, child. Anger will not heal you. But Zuri's voice was steady now. Cold, determined. I'm not going there for anger. I'm going for the truth. As she walked back down the dusty road, rain began to fall, first in droplets, then in sheets. Her wrapper clung to her legs, her heart heavy yet burning. She didn't care about the storm. All she could see was the image of a child. His child. Hidden away while she lived in a lie. And in that rain, with lightning flashing over the village, Zuri made a vow. She would find that woman. She would find that child. And when she did, she'd make Kamau face the truth he buried. No matter what it cost. The rain poured relentlessly as Zuri trudged down the muddy road toward the sugarcane fields. Her heart thudded like a drum in her chest. Each step splashed with anger, betrayal, and disbelief. The storm around her was nothing compared to the storm inside her. Kamau, the man she had loved, lied for, and defended, had hidden a child. A living, breathing child. And not just any child. His own. She reached the edge of the sugarcane fields, where the stalks grew tall and thick, whispering secrets to the wind. The air smelled of damp earth and regret. Somewhere beyond those stalks was the hut where Kamau's lies lived. Zuri hesitated, her breath shaky. What would she even say when she saw them? Would she scream? Cry? Walk away? But then she remembered every lonely night she had spent waiting for him. Every time she had smiled through pain. And suddenly, her fear hardened into fire. She pushed through the tall stalks until the hut appeared before her. Small, crooked, with smoke rising faintly from its thatched roof. She walked straight to the door and knocked. For a moment nothing. Then the door creaked open. The woman with the red scarf stood there, eyes widening in shock. Zuri, she gasped. Zuri's voice trembled but stayed firm. Where is he? The woman's lips parted, but no words came out. Zuri stepped forward. Don't lie to me. I know about the child. The woman's face changed, not to fear but to sadness. She glanced back inside, then quietly said, Come in. Inside the small hut, the air was thick with the scent of herbs and smoke. A woven mat lay in the corner, and on it sat a small boy, barely 2 years old, playing with a wooden toy. Zuri froze. The boy looked up and her breath caught. He had Kamau's eyes. Those same deep brown eyes that once smiled at her across the firelight now blinked up at her from a face so innocent, so unaware of the pain he represented. Zuri's knees weakened. So it's true, she whispered. He really has a child. The woman knelt beside the boy and pulled him close. Yes. His name is Tendo. Zuri's voice cracked. How long? 2 years, the woman replied softly. Since before you said you could not conceive. Zuri felt the words pierce through her chest like arrows. And you just hid him here. The woman looked down. It wasn't my choice. Kamau insisted. He said it would destroy your heart. He promised he'd tell you one day, when you were ready. Zuri let out a bitter laugh. When I was ready. I faked a pregnancy to make him love me again. I was never ready for lies. Her voice rose, trembling. Do you have any idea what that man has done to me? To us. The woman flinched but stayed calm. Zuri. I didn't plan this. Kamau and I, it was a mistake. We met when you two were struggling. He was lost drinking too much. I never meant for this to happen. Zuri clenched her fists, tears running freely now. You say that like it makes it better. You both stole something from me. You stole my trust. Before she could say more, the door suddenly burst open. Kamau stood there, drenched, his face pale with shock. Zuri, he cried. What are you doing here? Zuri turned slowly, fury and heartbreak burning in her eyes. You tell me, Kamau. What are you doing here? Playing house with your secret family. Kamau stepped forward, his voice shaking. I was going to tell you. When? She screamed. After I gave birth to my fake baby. The boy flinched at her tone, and Zuri immediately lowered her voice, guilt flickering across her face. She glanced at Tendo, who was now hiding behind the woman's leg. Kamau rubbed his forehead. Zuri, please. I never meant to hurt you. But you did, she said coldly. Over and over. The woman with the red scarf stood quietly, rocking the boy gently. Maybe you two should talk outside, she murmured. Zuri and Kamau stepped out into the rain, the sound of thunder rolling above them. Kamau took a deep breath. Zuri, listen to me. I didn't hide Tendo out of shame. I did it because I was scared. You were broken when the healer told you about your womb. You cried for days. I thought, if you knew I'd fathered another child, it would destroy you completely. Zuri stared at him, speechless. So you decided to destroy me slowly instead, she said finally. Kamau's voice cracked. I wanted to protect you. I swear, Zuri. I wanted to tell you. But every time I looked at you, I couldn't. I thought I could fix it all somehow. Zuri shook her head, rain streaming down her face like tears. You lied to me every day, Kamau. Every night you held me, every promise you made. It was all built on lies. He stepped closer. Zuri, I still love you. She looked him straight in the eye. You don't love me, Kamau. You love the idea of being forgiven. Silence fell between them, broken only by the soft cry of the boy from inside the hut. Zuri turned away. You need to decide who you are, Kamau. A husband, a father, or a coward. She walked away, her feet heavy in the mud, leaving Kamau standing in the rain, helpless. Back in her own home, Zuri sat by the fire, wrapped in her shawl. The lie she had told, her fake pregnancy, felt small now compared to the betrayal she had uncovered. Yet deep inside she also felt something unexpected. Relief. She finally knew the truth. For the first time in years, she wasn't guessing, pretending, or begging for love. She was simply free. But that night, as the fire crackled low, another thought crept into her mind. Something Mama Shola had said echoed back to her. Some truths are better faced than feared. What if there was more to the story? The next morning she went back to Mama Shola, determination in her steps. Mama, she said, you told me Kamau has a son, but you also said he did the right thing by hiding him. Why? Mama Shola looked up from her herbs and sighed. Because the child's mother, the woman with the red scarf, is not who you think she is. Zuri frowned. What do you mean? The old woman looked into her eyes. That woman, Abani. She is Kamau's half-sister. Zuri gasped. What? Mama Shola nodded gravely. Their father had 2 wives. Abani's mother died young, and they lost contact for many years. When Kamau moved to the city, he met her again, not knowing who she really was. By the time the truth came out, it was too late. The child had already been born. Zuri covered her mouth, trembling. So Tendo. Mama Shola nodded again. Yes. He is both Kamau's son and his nephew, a child born from a sin of ignorance. Zuri sank to her knees. The shock was unbearable. Everything she thought she knew about betrayal suddenly twisted into tragedy. Kamau hadn't just cheated. He had unknowingly crossed a line no one should ever cross. She walked home in silence, her mind spinning. For the first time, she saw Kamau not as a villain, but as a man crushed by guilt, trapped by mistakes he couldn't undo. When she returned, she found him sitting outside, staring at the horizon, his eyes swollen from crying. "Zuri," he whispered when he saw her. "I understand if you can't forgive me." She stood there, silent for a long moment. Then she said softly, "Kamau, I lied to you too. I said I was pregnant. I wanted to make you love me again. But all I did was push you further away." He looked up at her, tears glistening in his eyes. "We both lied trying to hold on to love we'd already lost." Zuri nodded. "Maybe it's time to stop lying, to each other and to ourselves." Kamau swallowed hard. "What will you do now?" Zuri looked toward the hills, where the rain clouds were slowly clearing. "I'll start again. Maybe open that tailoring shop I dreamed of. And you must take responsibility for that child. He didn't ask to be born into your sins." Kamau bowed his head. "I will." Zuri turned to leave, then stopped. "Kamau." He looked up. She managed a sad smile. "Even after everything, I hope you find peace. Because only when you do, maybe I can too." As she walked down the dusty road toward a new dawn, the village slowly woke behind her. Children laughed, roosters crowed, and life went on, as it always did. Zuri didn't know what her future would hold, but one thing was certain: she would never again beg for love built on lies. The storm had broken her heart, but it had also washed it clean. Moral of the story: love built on lies will always crumble, no matter how noble the reason behind them. Honesty may hurt, but only truth can heal.